Hi, I'm Jackie Allison, Chair of the Management and Economic Society of CIM. And today I have a special guest for our mentor interview. I'd like to welcome Steve Rusk. Hi, Steve. Welcome
Good
to the
morning.
mentor interview. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. We have your title scrolling across the bottom, but maybe you could just tell people what you do and then we'll jump into the questions.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, Steve Rusk, I'm a vice president with Stantec. Most people in the mining business would know that as a large engineering company. We do work with more than just mining groups, though. It's a very large integrated engineering company based in Edmonton, Alberta.
All right, thank you. So, Steve, I guess we'll jump right in, and first we like to start off to give our viewers an idea of your background. So maybe you could tell us a bit about your education.
Yeah, so I after I finished my high school education, I worked for a while in the agriculture business, and then I went um, to a technical college where I studied geology and geotechniques, and then I worked for a few years in the mineral exploration industry primarily, and then I went back to university and did a combined major Bachelor of Science in sciences,
Mhm.
and I embarked on my career from there. Basically, well, I guess it started at university, but yeah, um, and in those two things, the technical education was really a good platform to get out and get doing practical things, and I
Mhm.
think the university education was, in my mind, I guess, a little bit more about learning how to learn, I suppose, as opposed to learning so that you know things, right? But anyway,
Mhm.
that's my kind of outlook
Yeah.
on that.
Good point. I mean, people come to this industry from so many different backgrounds. Their paths are so different that I think, as you say, like university, you can learn a lot of technical things, but it's learning how to learn. And when you start working, you realize how much you don't know, and there's so much more learning left to do. So once you left university, then maybe just walk us through your early career and how that progressed.
Yeah, well, so my career, I've done a lot of different things in my working life, and probably we don't have time to discuss the number of frames that I've worked at in my working life, but certainly there was a progression and a pathway. I mean, I've worked for a lot of different groups. I've worked for mining companies. I've worked for mining contractors. I worked for myself. I've been entrepreneurial. So,
Mhm.
so I think there are certain things that I did in order to basically learn. Like, I'm on a lifelong learning venture,
Mhm.
and that started early. And so some of the early work that I did was, figuring out the business. I had a bit of a knack for supervision and managing people, which I didn't really think about before.
Mhm.
But so I ended up, um, having a little bit of a leadership role in a few projects and things early on that helped me identify, really, I guess, what I didn't know
Mhm.
about managing people and
Right.
managing processes and stuff. But I worked across Canada on lots of projects, and worked in the Arctic for about 10 years, and have worked on projects and traveled like throughout the world as well later on in my
Yeah.
career. But um, I worked as a supervisor at operating mines, and as a project manager on
Mhm.
projects, and mostly underground mining, but also some surface and specialty kind of mining. Um,
Okay.
but I think and it's been very rewarding, and very done a lot of really interesting things. It
Mhm.
provided me an opportunity to learn and grow, grow by doing, I guess, and learn by
Yeah.
doing as I
Mhm.
progressed to,
Yeah.
I've been, involved in managing large projects, and now I'm, a corporate executive and stuff like that. So there's lots of different things you can do to learn on the pathway, and to, get some practical experience, and apply that and expand
Yeah.
your own horizons.
Yes, yes. I think some of the conversations we sometimes hear from youngsters is that they're just dying to get onto Bay Street or some office
Yeah.
job when there's so much to be learned on site from different locations, different teams, different roles. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the transitions, because you've done, as you said, corporate work and some consulting work and so on. And maybe you could tell us how that transition went for someone who might be considering a change if they're at that point in their career.
Yeah. So, I think one of the early transitions I made was I'd been working on a business in Red Lake. Some people might know where that is. And, we were doing lots of work, in fact, like way too busy. And I wanted to learn more about production mining. And I had worked with a fellow who told me that the best place to learn about mining would be the Dome Mine in Timmins, because they had so many different mining methods there. So I actually like wound down my business in Red Lake, got some contracts in the Timmins area, and went and hounded the people at the Dome Mine until they hired me.
So tell us about that process. What did that look like?
Well, yeah, I guess this is a story I've told a few young people. So I went into the office at the Dome Mine, in the morning before I went to do some other work, and said to the person at the reception there that I wanted to talk to somebody about a job. And I said, "Oh, okay, have you filled out an application?" I said, "No, but is there somebody here I could talk to?" And the person said, "Well, you got to fill out an application first." And I said, "Well, I don't really have time to do that right now, but I'll see you tomorrow." And so I went away and I went back the next day, and basically did the same thing, right? Asked if I could talk to somebody, and they tried to get me to fill out an application again, which I didn't do, and
Right.
said, "Hey, I don't have time, but I'll see you tomorrow." And they go, "Whoa, wait. No, anyways, I went out the door, and I went back the next day, and lo and behold, there was HR person there the next day when I got there, and I had an interview on the spot. So, paper, I'm not saying that everybody should be a nonconformist or anything, but certainly paper can be a good insulator too as well, right? And so if
Yeah.
you can get in contact directly with people and sell yourself, and one of the ways I got the job there, because they were still a little bit doubtful when they were talking to me, and I said, "Well, I guarantee you that I will make double the amount of money you pay me, you will get back in
Right.
benefit, in demonstrated benefit. I'll keep track."
Yeah.
And I said, "So in a year from now, if I don't do that, you can fire me, and I'll
Right.
leave happily," right? And anyways, that day never came. And so,
Right. Wow, that's something. So that's quite the lesson in confidence. You had the expertise, you knew you had it, and you knew that you could bring value to the firm. So there's confidence and perseverance. You knew what would work, and you stuck by it, and it paid off in the end. So good for you, and good for the Dome Mine, because they got you after all of that, and they may have lost out on you if you'd gone through traditional process. But I guess we do have to get creative, and sometimes to do things a little bit differently, or think out of the box to make something work, or just to get in the door, as the case may be. So quite an interesting story there. Thanks for sharing that. I guess when you look back now, and I was going to ask you first about any interests or hobbies, but I'm interested in knowing. I mean, was this one of those significant points in your life, or are there other stories you'd want to share in terms of a highlight in your career, or something significant that happened?
I think probably the most significant point in my life was I went to in high school in Iran, and
Mm,
that, I guess, cross-cultural experience, if I could call it that,
mhm,
provided a perspective on life that people normally wouldn't get in their, early
mhm,
teen years.
mhm,
And so that um, I think that whole experience really kind of, I guess, allowed me to have a different way of thinking than I had had previously to that I've carried through my entire
Right.
life. And so that probably is the most significant event in my life, I would say.
Yes, yes, yes. It opened up a new world to you, and I guess maybe a different perspective on things as well. And then some, people might get that in different ways, but certainly having the chance to study in a different location, different country can be quite life-changing.
Well, and living every day in the
Hmm.
in the you know in an alternative environment. Like my folks were both the first off the farm kind of
Hmm.
people in their life, right? And so
Right,
we had a I guess I led a fairly sheltered life before that, I suppose, right?
right.
And so there are things that trigger your ability to expand your thinking horizons,
Right.
right? And for me, that's what that was.
Yes, yes, wonderful. And so maybe you could tell us then, with all the work and experience you've had, have you had time to build in any, sort of hobbies or pursue other interests, volunteer work? What sort of things are you able to do?
Yeah, so I think that's a really important thing. You can hurt yourself psychologically by just working all the time. And I've
Mhm.
had some jobs where they were very, very demanding,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so you recognize that balance is important, right? And so yeah, I mean, in my life, I've been an athlete my whole life, and that continued until, well, I mean, I still do lots of stuff recreationally, but
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
and a very wide range of things. I mean, I ski and I played hockey till maybe not too many years ago, right? And I golf, and we do lots of hiking and stuff like that.
Yes. So
Um,
you've been able to find some balance then. That's been
well,
in.
you have to create it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah. I
the
guess for short periods of time, sometimes we can find ourselves pulled in one direction or the other, and then give 100%, 110% just to that one thing for short periods of time. You might be able to sustain it, but longer term, it's not very healthy.
for
Something
sure,
gives eventually. Yeah.
yeah. And I think on the volunteering side, I mean, I volunteered a lot with. Well, we have kind of a large family. We have 5 kids, so
Hmm.
there was lots of activities that they were
Yes.
involved in
Right.
I volunteered around, 4-H and outdoor stuff,
Yeah.
and I mean, that's one benefit of working in the exploration business and being in the bush for so many years. When I was younger, I used to help them out with winter camping and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It,
Fantastic. Yes.
it's kind
Did
of fun.
so yes, that's great. I mean, busy life with a family that size. Did you ever find that you had to work remotely or away from the family for periods of time?
Yeah, I worked probably half my working life. I worked
Wow.
away from home. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that requires and you know I remained married. We
Yes, you
just had our
succeeded through that.
44th wedding
Good for
anniversary
you.
recently, but there's things involved with that too, right? Like
Mhm.
whenever I was on rotations, fly in, fly out rotations, you have to recognize that you're not a primary stakeholder in your home life anymore. And that
Mhm.
requires adjustment, right? I mean, you can't
Yes.
come home and rearrange things and then leave again.
Right.
You have to conform with what, and of course,
Mhm.
conformance for me is a challenge, but
Mhm. Yes,
you
good
have to
point.
come home and conform with what's going on, so that
Mm. Mhm.
you're not a disruptor, you're a supporter, right? So
Right. Yes. Yes, good point there. I think when we think back at anything that involves other people, certainly families, as you say, when you're away and then come back. And I think women sometimes do struggle with how to balance that family life when they may have to be away from children as well for long periods of time. And it's about building a strong support system. I mean, hopefully the family is supportive and understands, and that you're a supportive person as well, because it works both ways. but having a network of people or family, friends, whatever the community is that you have around you to support you in the life, the lifestyle that you've chosen and do want to make work. So yeah, it does require some thought, and it doesn't just happen. Maybe that for some it does, but in many cases you've got to sort of think through what the issues are and try and address them as opposed to pretending they don't exist, and that just helps it to work better overall. So good points there. I think that's very valuable for young people who are thinking about their career and would have to spend some portion of their lives in different places and different locations from their families and having to make all the necessary adjustments. No, thank you for that insight. So for those who don't know, Steve was a presenter at the recent Capital Project Symposium 2025 that was held in Montreal earlier this month, early November, and spoke to us, the group, about contracts and all the aspects around that and some of the risks and how to make things work well in this new environment. Is there anything that was a highlight from that talk that you might want to mention here while we have people?
Yeah, sure. So lots of people, like 15 years ago, we weren't really talking to anybody about alternative project delivery methods. Today, it's a regular occurrence, right? People are recognizing that things are changing and that there are other ways, to do things, right? Now, the mining business is a little bit in other industries and businesses. We have we're very capital intensive. We're very we've got long project schedules, right? So you look at companies these days that are separating mine access from mine development from their projects, because it's you spend years doing mine access and you don't have any payback on it, and that's hard to explain to shareholders who invest in insurance companies and stuff like that as well, right? So the investment environment's changing. The people environment is changing. There are some demographic issues that are going on that are going to provide lots of opportunity for younger people in mining these days. And but also the outlook is changing, right? And so we need to be able to adapt and to take good things that are happening in other parts of business in the world and apply them to the mining business.
Yes. I think, as you mentioned, for young people, there will be lots of opportunities with the wave of retirements that are coming. And certainly part of that is passing on the existing knowledge, but also embracing new ways of doing things. And that's where I think young people can be a huge part of the solution, bringing their knowledge, their interests, their passions to an industry that's so necessary. So hopefully we do manage to attract the people that we need, and that they find this as rewarding as anything else might be. The challenges are there, but there's so much opportunity and so much that they can contribute to society by a job in mining. So yeah, fantastic. Before we wrap up, maybe then you could tell us maybe just one last tip, maybe, or some last thoughts for those who would be listening.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned lifelong learning in the beginning, and what we're just talking about is being purposeful about how to progress in the business, right? And so I think from a personal perspective, it's important to be purposeful about building your toolkit and not just, taking a course and learning something, but, apply it. And you don't have to always apply it in the workplace. I used to practice some psychological discussion methods by going to a store, a big department store, and talking to somebody about a topic that they weren't comfortable talking about, right? But I would rather do that and practice like that than wait until I'm in a situation with
Interesting.
an internal client or an external client
Yes.
that you have to make things work with, right? So, and I think from a skills development perspective, I've been very purposeful with that. Well, like I mentioned, I went to work at the Dome Mine just to learn how production worked, how to supervise, and that kind of thing, right? And so that was a very valuable learn by doing experience. And I think that the secondary benefit to that is you have an intimate understanding of the business. And so your ability to contribute to something and therefore have a fulfilling career is whether you can add value or not. And the more you understand about the business and how the business works, the more value you can add in the actions that you and those around you take, right? So
yeah, no, very valuable words. Thank you for sharing that as well. It is a very diverse business. I mean, there's so much, so many different parts of when you think about mining. It's not just technical. It's got to have financial. Everything's a business. It's about the environment. It's about people. There's so much, and yeah, the more you understand about that, and then the psychology aspect on it, it just helps you to be more effective at what you need to do, and it helps others to be more effective too. So I think it's a win-win if you can practice those things, if you can be aware of not just about yourself, but also about others. It certainly is positions you and your company to perform better. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. And I do wish you well. And thanks so much for participating in this mentor interview.
well, thanks for having me, Alison.
Pleasure.